once again, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate you spending your time with us for this great session. I am super excited about it because this, of course, is Women's History Month, and we have some amazing women with us this evening. I want to give just a really quick introduction of the School of Business. Now, I do know we have some individuals in the room that are males and females, and so we do thank you for joining us. Tonight, we are going to really be focusing in on the amazing women that are a part of the School of Business and AGSM. So please do not feel like there are not men, because there definitely are. But tonight, we're just going to give a little bit more focus from the female aspect. So again, we are the University of California, Riverside School of Business, home of the A. Gary Anderson Graduate School of Management. We are part of the University of California system, which is kind of cool, right? So first of all, happy Women's History Month. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them, and may we promote them, right? UCR is one of the fastest rising ranked universities in the entire United States. We think that's a pretty incredible feat. There's a lot of really good things about UCR though, just besides rankings, because we know that's important for our students, but there's a lot of other really important things that we think you should know. One of them are, we have some amazing, amazing faculty that really truly care about our students, not only in the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. They were really concerned about your career. But I just wanted to highlight a few of our female faculty. So our first one we have is Dr. Marlo Ravindran. And something really cool about her is she was recently listed in the Poets and Quants 40 Under 40. Not only that, she is an amazing individual and a fabulous professor. I've loved being able to sit in on a couple of her classes. And then we have Dr. Elaine Wong. She is an associate professor of management. She has published numerous articles. In fact, her husband is also one of our professors, and they've done some collaboration together. She really does have an amazing teaching style as well. It's a very interactive. Dr. Jean Helwig is one of those individuals that a lot of students come to our school specifically to study in finance because of her background and her research. She also is our faculty advisor for our Highlander Financial Group, which is a great group to be a part of to really get some hands-on experience in learning how to invest in the stock market. And then Dr. Shana Hong is an associate professor of accounting, and her research really has focused on price discovery in derivative markets. So we have an amazing group of faculty across the board, and this is not just all of our females, but all of our faculty are pretty amazing. So let's talk a little bit about our programs. And again, we have highlighted women because it is Women's History Month. First of all, our MBA program is a 2-year program. It is designed specifically to give you a very strong business foundation, and then you can go into a concentration and choose what you would like to do. We have 45% female in our MBA across the United States. That number is really around about 32%. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we are very focused on making sure that females are getting this education they need in order to advance their career. Our Master of Finance is one of those specialty programs that can be done in either 9 months or 15 months, and we have 46% female in that program. Our Master of Professional Accountancy, which completely prepares you to sit for the CPA exam, also really to get out there in your career and make a difference, is 59% female. And our brand new Master of Science in Business Analytics, which of course, everybody wants data, right? This is a very hot career and of course, a very hot program that we have. In fact, we are almost full for our fall 2023 class. We are 41% female. Think about all the careers out there that you can go into. I want to quickly talk about our application. Super easy. Online, we're asking for a resume. We are asked for your unofficial transcripts and degree certificate, 1 letter of recommendation, 1 essay. If you happen to be an international student, we do ask for a TOEFL or IELTS. Our next round deadline is coming up here on March 31st. We still have scholarship money, so think about applying now. I want to talk specifically about really some amazing colleagues that I get to work with, and I feel very privileged to work with women that support women they're there for each other. They're there for me. I mean, I tell you, I use Abby all the time. She supports me so much. But our women are there for you as well, whether you're female or male. We will be there throughout the entire process, from the time you start applying all the way through your career and becoming one of our alums. I want to briefly highlight the admissions team, which includes myself and Abby, and then Maribel and Irene as well. We are all four there that will be for you throughout this entire application process. And we have an amazing student success team, from our career director, Jeanette, and the career service associate director, Iris, to your student services that's going to help you with that roadmap of getting you into the classes you need so you are successful in the program. Our director, Sabine, and our two assistant directors, Erica and Sarah. So let's jump right into what we really came for, because we want to hear from our current students and our alumni. I'm going to hand it over to Abby. Abby is going to be your moderator and host for the rest of the evening. Abby, thank you for being an amazing colleague, and happy Women's History Month to you as well. Please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Tamra. I appreciate that. And I appreciate working with you as well. So to our main event, we have some fabulous women here today that we would love to highlight that will be sharing their experiences. We have Victoria, Jasmine, and Renuka, who are all current students right now in our AGSM MBA programs. We also have two amazing, outstanding alumni that are here with us today to share some of their experiences in the workplace, in their careers. Tonnu and Janice Rooths. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and dive in to our first question. What was your motivation for going into the world of business and for pursuing a graduate management degree? So if you can, briefly introduce yourself and then hop into the question.
My name is Victoria Guidry. I am a first-year MBA student with a concentration in marketing, and I did get my undergrad in economics here at UCR as well. So for this question, I was thinking about this the other day, and I realized that after my decision to change my major from essentially pre-med to my undergraduate major of economics, which is a huge change, I wanted to go into a field that would still challenge me and challenge the boundaries around me. And what better place to do that than in business and in tech? And I knew that I wanted to be a beacon of diversity and a representative for all of those who look like me and all other women. Then I decided that as a woman, more specifically a woman of color, that I would need a master's to provide me with that extra stamp of approval, that extra leg up and advantage, so that I'd be able to go to the places that I wanted to go. Because I feel like now that's kind of what we need. And even like MBA students in general, just getting a master's, a bachelor's just doesn't do it anymore. Getting a master's is always just recommended, just because you kind of need that extra little push.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I am a first year in MBA. I'm concentrating in marketing. And I think my motivation for going to the field of business and for pursuing an MBA was pretty much for a better future and greater opportunities, just like how Victoria was saying. When I graduated from my Bachelor of Science from UCR as well in business, and when I graduated, I was doing an unpaid internship. And to afford to do that internship, I had to work at a fast food restaurant in the night. So I knew I wanted to get experience and learn more before entering my career. And that's why I chose the MBA program. Now that I am part of the MBA program, I can already see myself growing professionally and personally to be ready to excel in my career.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renuka Kulkarni, and I'm a first-year MBA student. I'm also concentrating in marketing, and I absolutely can relate to what Victoria and Jasmine had to say. So I come from a background of computer science, and I've worked in IT services industry for 7 years. But then while working, I realized that if I want to proceed ahead into more functional roles, I really need that strong business sense, and need to develop on my interpersonal communication skills and my leadership skills. And that's the reason I actually decided to go in the world of business and to pursue my MBA, so that I could work in product management roles and build my career in product. I also realized that there are very few women in tech, especially in leadership. And I feel that the more women are there on leadership positions, we can promote each other. And I feel that's something that I would want to do going forward.
My name is Tonnu. I am alumni at UCR. I graduated in 2019 around the time. It's been a while. But right after, what was kind of interesting is I was doing my internship while I was in school. We had a summer internship. What was fortunate was that right after my internship, I actually got the job. So what was unique was I was both going to school and working. So it was a really good transition. Right after business school, I did an MBA, but a concentration in finance. And my role was a product manager for mortgage lending at a bank called City National Bank. And I work in downtown LA. And so my motivation for going to UCR and my circumstance, very similar to Victoria. So my undergraduate background was a lot of science. So I was pre-med, really wanted to go to med school, right? That was kind of my motivation initially, but then realizing, all of the time that I had to put in, I decided to do a career change. And that's when I kind of started looking at different avenues I wanted to pursue, and business was one of them. And so my motivation was that I needed to hone a lot of the business skills I didn't have at the time. And so I think the best way to do that was to do and pursue a degree in business. And I was looking at a lot of schools, and because I was applying late and a lot of personal circumstances during that time, UCR was very accommodating. Tamra, I remember during that time, and everyone was so warm and welcoming that, it was the right choice to go to UCR.
Hi, I'm Janice Rooths, and I graduated from AGSM in 1994. I was actually there when it opened at the Citrus Station and when they named it A. Gary Anderson Graduate School of Management. So that's how old I am. But going into the field of business, I've had so many different careers in technology as a software engineer and selling mainframes, and then on projects for Anderson Consulting, which is now Accenture, but also worked in large nonprofits in LA, like $500 million, Crystal Stairs, and here in Riverside, working in Path Life Ministries, in finance and administration and development. And so there is not a way for you to avoid going into the field of business if you want to work and make money. Even governments have to have the business types of operations in order to service the constituents, and the residents and businesses in any city. So I didn't actually have a choice about going into the field of business, but at this end of it, I realized that everything you do is in the field of business. So it is to your advantage, regardless of what you study in undergrad. And I studied communication arts, television broadcasting, and public relations. And then I went out and became a programmer and a software engineer. So the purpose of my MBA was twofold. One, to transition from working in a government agency back into the private sector. And two, to show very quickly my experience, because I had a number of years of experience in major corporations. But, there's nothing that says you have this rounded business experience like an MBA or some kind of master's of business behind your name. And so that was my primary reason for doing that. But it was also to fill in all the gaps that I didn't have, because I never had marketing classes or really finance classes and those kinds of things. So yeah, the MBA was purposely doing the same thing that some of you said, which is showing that I have the qualifications to do almost anything in here.
Thank you, ladies. I love your foresight and your bravery to get into this field and to really pave the way for it. So in every organization, there are values that an organization will set, right? Sometimes values are just expressed, not always are they lived out. I wonder to our current students, if you could share about this value of inclusion at UCR. How, if at all, is inclusion lived out at the School of Business, and especially when it comes to creating inclusive spaces for women?
I think what inclusion is what inspires innovation, and that's what I feel at AGSM. AGSM values inclusion, and I see it with professors, faculty, and the environment. I've talked to my professors for advice on which concentration to do, and faculty about career options, and I feel supported and empowered to do better and be better. I don't feel like I can't do something because I'm a female here. I've always had that support, even in the clubs like the ambassador program. It's so diverse. I met so many of my friends from there, as well as a career advisory council have helped me with how to negotiate a salary or connected me to a mentor for an undergrad student women resource center. So I think just AGSM values and inclusion and shows it to its students.
I completely agree with everything that Jasmine said. I also think a great vision of inclusion happens through our guest speakers and the many women of business who come and share their stories with us. So shout out to the CDC and the ambassador program with Tamara and Jeanette. They make sure to provide students with a vastly diverse group of speakers. And I really appreciate that because it's nice to have tangible images of what success looks like. And it's absolutely amazing when you can see it, and especially see it in female executives. So I think that that's something that I really, really love and that is really emphasized here.
Yeah, I think Jasmine and Victoria have literally covered everything that we do at UCR to promote more inclusive environment for women. And I think each day at UCR, we try to build a more inclusive environment, not just for women, but for everybody, for all different genders and ethnicity. And I think we are also starting a Women in Business Club, which is open to all students with a mission to bridge that gender diversity gap. And that'll provide everybody with a platform to express their opinions, to network, and to grow together as a community.
Lovely. And of course, with women in positions of staff and all of our students, we get to kind of continue to create that environment together, right? Moving a little bit to being a woman in the workplace, what are some challenges that you've faced to our alumni panelists in your career and or in the workplace based on your identity as a woman, and maybe even based on other aspects of your identity?
So for me, I work in finance, and not just finance for any company, it's banking. Finance in general is very male-centric. Most of the positions are heavily male or even Caucasian males in that aspect, kind of higher up executives and SVP levels and above. So for me, when I first joined, one of the things that I knew right away was I had a good handle on what the culture was like. Like, was the culture inviting to a sense where women and people of color are more inclusive for their culture in that company? And for me, fortunately enough, we had a lot of improvements in terms of inclusivity. So 40% of the executives in my company are female. So that's a big number that's compared to like other banks out there. Our CEO is female, so that's also a plus. So we do have a lot of programs around the bank that helps promote female and women of color and all that stuff. One of the challenge I do face that's kind of outside of female is being a young professional. I know I see a lot of people on this call that are very young in their career. And I know that a lot of you or a lot of us are going to struggle. And that's one of the things I faced when I started working was, how do you start showing people that you are experienced, but yet you look so young? And then people kind of equate your age to how lack of experience you may have. And how do you show and demonstrate people that, you know, even if you're lacking experience, you do have that potential to learn and grow. So that's one thing that I learned really quickly it was about how do you convey the message that, yes, you're young, but you have that ability and that knowledge to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, what you're doing. And it's especially difficult when you're working in a role where you have direct reports, or you have people that you need to get something from them, like whether it's a report, whether it's a deck, a presentation, whatever it is. That's one of the hurdles that I faced. In general, though, I didn't face that much of a struggle being a woman, though, in my workplace.
Yeah, so I've gone from environments when I first started working where women couldn't wear pants to this end of the spectrum where things are very, very different, and companies where industries like being in the technology, but also being in aerospace and defense, women are few and far apart. Most aren't engineering at all. And so, yeah, you find yourself in the room with a lot of people that are definitely not like you. So sometimes that's a challenge. I mean, in the past, when I realized I was either the only woman in the room or the only Black woman in the room or the only Black person in the room. It was, I just found it interesting because I didn't have enough experience or enough adverse experiences at that point in my career for me to say, this is something else is going on here. So I was still kind of learning. And it seems that as my career progressed, things changed as well, but I've had those instances where people just try to either, and primarily, white males, let's put it like that, would try to ignore me in a situation where it turned out that it wasn't even in their advantage to ignore me because they're working with a customer who were people that I used to work with in the same company, but he didn't know this, right? So as they come out and start to greet me and sort of ignore him, then he had to figure out how was he going to make his way in and actually sort of find a way to cozy up to the customers who were already cozy with me. So, you never know what's going to happen when you walk into a room, and you just have to have a really open mind and consider it, an experiment. I mean, that's what life's journey is, right? An experiment in the making, and take whatever knowledge you can with you. I always think that I'm not going to know enough. So I'm always studying, so like the school never stopped, right? Because I was always trying to figure out what might happen in here, that I won't know because I want to know beforehand. And, people will look at you and think you don't know what you're doing, whether it's you're a woman, you're young, even if you're old, right? That now you haven't kept up with the times, so you may not know what's going on. So there are a lot of challenges in the workplace, but I take this perspective that I took when I turned to 18. Coming up in my culture, you are often going to call people, Miss Jane, Mr. Smith, Mr. whoever, Mrs. whoever, right? But when I turned to 18, with the exception of maybe a very few people, I decided I wasn't calling anyone Miss or Mr. again. And if in the workplace they asked me to call them that, then I would also ask them to call me by that as well. And that I was grown and I was not better than anybody, but no one was better than me either. So I'm short. I'm a short person. I'm like 5'3", but I like to say I think tall. So, the guy or whoever it is can be 6'5", and we're the same height, okay? Because you take in your intellect and you take in all your possibility and you just confront the situation, and everything is problem solving. So whatever comes down the pike, you do that. Yeah, there are different challenges, clearly, but you can get through them.
Thank you both for sharing. Building on that a little bit, how do you think women's collective power can be strengthened to achieve the diversity of solutions we need in the business world?
I think that the biggest thing is teamwork and constant learning, just as Janice said, whether it be learning about each other's cultures, backgrounds, learning about the business and other businesses. If we work together and learn together, it opens our eyes and it improves our communication. And then that overall sets us all up for a greater chance to be successful, and then most of all, successful together, especially if we're in tech or in business. There's such a small group of women there, so we might as well band together and not look at each other as competition or have any types of rifts. We just, work together, learn together, and then overall that'll push us towards the greater goal.
The Kellogg Foundation has a truth, racial healing, and transformation process. And one of the questions is effectively, who's not in the room? And I think when you're trying to tackle anything, and especially around women's issues, we should probably ask who's not in the room right now. Once we start to ask that question, before we even try to tackle the problem, we will reach out and figure out, okay, we need people who have this experience and people who have children with these kinds of issues, whatever that is. And honestly, that's the question to ask in any room. Who's not here that we should be bringing in? Because the more diversity, whether it's ethnic or thought or just experience, more diversity we have in the room, the better solution we're going to come up with, right? And as women I find are more naturally collaborative than we are competitive, right? And so we're happy to bring people into the room, because we know the soup tastes better with more stuff in there, right? So yeah, that's what I would say, just we should always ask who's not in the room.
Such a powerful response. Thank you for that. What's the most important skill women should acquire in order to be successful in the room? And we'll go back to our alumni for this question as well.
Outside of communications, I would say you should have a great and as deep a financial or wide a financial background as possible. And I might be stealing your answer, Tina, because you're in the industry. But I believe that to be successful in business, whether it's your business or a business you're working for, you need to be good at two things, people and money. You might be really bad with people, and you can become Amazon with, probably a 40 or 50% turnover rate, right? But if you're bad at money, you are going to just go out of business, no matter how great your people are, because you're going to waste it. You're not going to figure out people are still, there's all kinds of things. So I would say a good background in financial, whether it's accounting, finance, the whole range is the thing you really want most.
You did not steal my question. I have a different set of skills I think that are beneficial. So you kind of touched on a lot about this kind of softer skills like presentation skills, collaborative teamwork, and all that. I think one of the more technical and hard skills that I think a lot of people in general, not just women, that want to hone on is technical skills. More so like data. Don't be afraid to use data, be more embracive with technology. And that's with any industry. As you can see, starting from marketing all the way to finance, right? Data and tech is kind of going hand in hand. And I'm so excited that when Tamara said we're starting a new program in data science, that's extraordinary because during my time there, we did not have that program. And I think it's such an incredible program to have because that's kind of where I think all the industries are heading towards. It's being more tech savvy. So that's one of the skills. And then I'm going to tweak that question a little bit, Abigail, if that's okay. I think not skills, but I think more so in terms of personality. So one of the things personality-wise is a lot of, and I feel bad saying this, but I do see a lot of self-sabotaging with women in general in the workplace. And what I mean by that is when we get into the negotiation room, and that's like the key, right? Whenever you start a position job, that's where the money's at, right? That's where you get to negotiate your pay, your benefits, all that good stuff. And I feel like when we get into that room, we just got tensed, right? We get nervous and we tend to self-sabotage ourselves. And I think that's such an unfortunate thing because men don't have that issue. They go into that room and they immediately say, I'm really good. I deserve 10+% than what I deserve currently, right? But we go to the room and we're like, oh, I actually deserve -10%, right? And you start to rethink and you question yourself, your ability, and we shouldn't be like that, right? And so one of like the skills that I'm not skills, but one of the personality that I do want to, that women in total and in general, we all should embrace would be self-promotion. And we're just more confidence in ourselves, right? And I think that's going to go a long way in terms of being able to become a leader in any industry that you have.
Amazing answers from you both. So valuable. I've even heard that oftentimes women will see a job description and they'll look, oh, I don't have every single qualification here, so I'm not going to apply. Men don't do that. So we need to just have a little bit more confidence in ourselves and self-promote just a little bit more than we might naturally do. That's great. And getting those finance technical skills coupled with soft skills, definitely a great reason to come to a business school and then to continue that learning throughout our lives. This is our final question, and I'd like to open it back up to everybody to just give one piece of brief advice. We have folks joining us from all different stages in their journey, some thinking about going to grad school, some in grad school and thinking about going into the workforce, some starting internships. What advice would you give to you when you were at any point in that stage and in your academic or career journey? What would you tell yourself?
So this is my first time working 40 hours and being a full-time student and participating in different organizations. So it's been a lot. I'm always working hard to reach my goals, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. You start feeling stressed, burnt out, those all-nighters catch up to you. And the advice I would give myself during that stage is that it's okay to take a self-care day, taking a day for yourself or a few hours for yourself to do a face mask, go on a walk, or even play with your dog. is important. Yes, school and careers are important, but our well-being is equally as important. And I realized when I needed to take a break is when someone asked me in class, "Oh, how's it going?" And I started to cry with just that simple question because I was just so overwhelmed. So I think taking a day off is not a weakness, and just remind yourself that you're important too. And there's so many resources at AGSM that help with kind of alleviating the stress of finding a career, like the Career Center has helped me revise my resume, or even the support from just colleagues or students just always being there like, "Oh, I noticed that you're a little stressed in this class. Let's partner up and meet after class and kind of just study the terms." So it's just having that support system and making sure that you take a day for yourself because you're important as well.
That was something really amazing that Jasmine shared. I have been working for 7 years now, and one advice that I would give to my younger self is own up to your achievements and your skill sets and put your foot down when it is required and ask for that promotion or ask for a change in project because you deserve that. Because for the longest time, I used to struggle thinking that I'm not doing enough. I was too afraid to ask. And it's very late that I realized that it's just about going up and asking for what you think you deserve, and you will get it.
That's great. So I think that at the beginning of my college career, I wish I had followed my initial dreams, which was to go into business, rather than the dreams and goals that I thought I needed to fulfill. Following your passion is extremely important in anyone's professional development. Not everyone has the privilege to follow their dreams, but if you do, then I would say that don't doubt yourself, because you'll be 5 steps behind where you would have been if you had just stayed the path and kept on doing what you wanted to do, and you kept on fighting and pushing towards that initial goal. And I would say to myself is that, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fall, because the more you fall, the more you learn how to get up faster. And the faster you're able to get up, the closer you are to accomplishing what you want. I think for women that's trying to always be perfect, it's a lot of stress, especially with the standards that we have. And it's okay to fall, because we've had all these years of strength training where we have the strength to do it. So just keep on going and, you'll get there.
Yeah, I think throughout my entire career and prior, I'd even go back to high school or elementary school, at every point I needed support. And sometimes I got a little something, and it wasn't until, maybe the last 10 years or so that I thought I actually had people that I feel were mentors. So the advice to give to myself and to everyone here is that regardless of what your age or your stage, look for people who are doing what you would want to do. And regardless of where they are, and in this day and age, regardless of where they are in the world, reach out to them. Some of them might not get back to you, but you would be surprised how many will. And ask them about the career, all the questions you would want to ask someone, because they'll actually talk to you. Most people don't ask people, how'd you get where you are? I'd like to be there. They don't. And people are more than happy to talk to you about that, right? And so do that. Don't be afraid at all. I mean, when I was trying to get into consulting, I did these informational interviews, and I ended up sending a letter out, then calling the managing partner at McKinsey in LA. And she called me. She made trade-offs, right? She decided she wasn't going to have kids so she could be a managing partner in McKinsey, right? And so that gave me a reason to kind of think about, well, do I really want to be in consulting in that way? So no, talk to people, reach out to them. Again, it is important in any stage. I have people now that I designate as who I need to talk to when things come to me that I haven't encountered before, even now. So that would be my piece to myself and to you.
One piece of advice I would give to myself would be no dream or goal is too big. Don't ever psych yourself out without even attempting to do it in the first place. What I always say is if you have a goal that you want to achieve, just write it down and then give yourself a little bit of a wiggle room and plan it out. Give yourself what you would want to do a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now. Make it so it's achievable, and so it's not so overwhelming that you then decide to not do it. And so break out your goals, and like what Janice was saying, is find the right people to help you get to those goals. because you'll figure out that everyone is so willing to help you along the way. And if you make it seem like you are willing to put in the effort, people are going to put the same effort back or even more. So just always reach out, be willing to open up, because you're going to get so much support from everyone around you. That's just how we are.
Incredible advice again from everyone. I've learned so much in this short time. Thank you all for being here, sharing your wisdom, sharing your strength, sharing your tenacity with all of us. Next, I'm going to go ahead and invite our director of AGSM's Dedicated Career Development Center, Jeanette Ordonez, to share a little bit with us about the programming that she offers from our CDC.
Thank you so much, Abby, for having me. And thank you to our panelists for inspiring and empowering our future women leaders. It's because of women before us, current women, and then future women that glass ceilings have been broken. Everything you share was admiring, and even myself as a leader today at AGSM as a director of Career Development Center, I've also experienced similarities that many of the women share today. So very, very empowering. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with everyone today. The Career Development Center has so many resources to support women and all students. And things I'm going to focus on today that our panelists also share is some special highlights of programming and events that we have to further support our women in business. So one of the things that Janice, Tina, as well as our student leaders mentioned is mentorship. So at AGSM, we have the executive mentorship program. Tina has participated in the past, in the years that I've been here, as executive mentor to support our students. And we get mentors from across the board in different occupations. We get them in different industries that support all of our students that apply to the program. In the past, we've had 20 mentors, as well as over 30 students participate. It's been an extensive program, very valuable, because like the panelists mentioned in the past here right now, that mentorship is one of the things that definitely guides those opportunities. So that's one of the programs that we offer. We also discussed a salary negotiation. Our panelists discussed that, and it's a huge topic. It's something that it's not talked about every day. It's not very open on the internet. And even if you do your research, there's not enough information to prepare you to advocate for yourself. So it's very important that students understand their hard, soft skills, their past experience, and how it's related to the occupation, opportunities to negotiate. And then also, maybe it's not monetary, but things that you can negotiate that could be benefits, that could be non-monetary, that can support you. So we have workshops regarding salary negotiation, but also have those discussions to make sure that the candidates, the students feel comfortable having those conversations with their supervisors or their future employer. We also here at the School of Business offer Coursera. So one of the things is we want to empower our students to get technical skills or new skills that they feel that are lacking to be a competitive candidate. So with Coursera, students are able to fill in those gaps and also support them in their courses to make sure that they're on top of their skill sets to be able to apply it in the classroom, but also in a practical setting. We also have career panels just like this one to empower our students. I know a lot of our students have mentioned that informational interviews are hard to obtain sometimes, or maybe they don't have time to do them. But career panels is an excellent way for our students to learn about other professionals' career paths, their educational background, their challenges, and some of supportive tips to encourage students to do the same to get where they're at the moment. So we have career panels, we have women, we have all different types of people supporting with those panels. And then also we have networking events. This upcoming spring, we're going to have networking events where we're going to invite professionals like Janice and Tina to come and talk to our students. So you could continue to learn from previous alum and then also those that are in the industry to continue to support your career initiatives. So those are just some highlights. We have so many more services, but the Career Development Center is focused on the success of the students from beginning to end. One thing is, the nice thing about my position is that I'm able to see students dream big, but then make a plan and take action and then have something special happen. But that's one thing I love about my job. And it's exciting to see people that started off not sure about what they wanted to do or where they wanted to go, and then end up following their dreams or then getting close enough to their dreams compared to how they started. And just to kind of highlight, anything is possible. So these are just some recent AGSM employers. Sometimes these employers might be intimidating, but just know that any of this is possible. The only thing is just come talk to us at the CDC and we could kind of go over a plan and see the gaps, see where Coursera fits in, where we could update your resume. The sky is definitely the limit, how our professionals said today. Once again, thank you panelists for empowering everyone. It's been a pleasure. And then I'm here to support our current and future students. Thank you, Abby and Tamara.
Thank you so much, Jeanette, for joining and sharing all those useful tools and resources available to our students. I will invite a few students who are joining on the call to ask some questions to our panelists. We have just a few minutes left. Please type your questions in the Q&A feature. I do have one question that came in. This is for our current students. I'd like to know, what are you involved in right now and what's your next step? What are you looking at finals? Are you getting an internship? What are you going to do over the summer? Are you graduating? Where are you at?
I can start it. Right now, I'm currently interning for Disney, but I am currently also looking for my summer internships. So I'm always looking ahead. But yes, this is finals week. So we are starting to study and apply for internships over the summer. That's where I'm at right now.
I pretty much similar to what Jasmine said. I'm also applying for summer internships. And as I am a part of many student organizations, including student ambassadors and student associations, so attending events for those organizations and organizing a few of them. And then apart from that, yes, we have a lot of group projects lined up and finals next week. So preparing for that.
Pretty much the same thing. I'm also getting ready for finals. I'm also in student leadership and part of the ambassadors. I am also looking for an internship over the summer for marketing. So I'm very excited and very hopeful.
Lovely. Our next question, how do you gain confidence in being a leader or just in being a woman in business in general when you've never done something like that before?
The truth is you have. There are times when you're doing things where you're the one kind of leading the charge. It might be a volunteer activity. It could have started in elementary school, high school, middle school, church, any kind of organization where you had that first time out where you were the one kind of in charge, wondering, what am I going to do? Those all count. And you should always think back to those things. And I will tell you, when I was working, and I would come upon something that was like a problem I couldn't figure out, I would think back to geometry class in high school and remember having this problem. And it took me a couple of hours to figure this thing out. But the success of doing that and being in the midst of that problem solving made me feel more confident. And so think back to the times where you had that unique situation and you solved it. And it could be anywhere in life. You can always transfer that feeling of doing that. And the same thing is with leadership. Don't ever have a fear of doing something you never did before, because the truth is you probably have done something like it. So think about those times, I would say.
To expand on what Janice was saying, for me, before talking to all of you right now, it's still really nerve-wracking for me, even though it doesn't seem like it. Prior to business school, I'm very shy, very quiet. I'm a science background. I kind of put my head in the books and that was it. Really hard to speak to people. And so I made an effort, right? When I went to UCR for business school, I made sure I applied to all the groups, all the different programs that were open during that time. So I was in the ambassador program. I was in the CDC career program, development program too. So being in those different groups, it gives you the opportunity to step up, like Janice was saying. So even if you weren't given those opportunities, you put yourself in the position where you have to. And that's when you really need to have to step up. Like if you don't step up, then nothing's going to happen, right? So you really put yourself out there. And yes, it's going to seem really scary at first. And you're going to be, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? But once you do it after the first time, it's going to seem so easy afterwards. And then you just keep constantly do it to a point where then the fourth, the fifth, the sixth time, it's going to seem normal to you. And just so you just put yourself out there. Yes, it's going to be scary, but just do it. And I believe you'll be able to, whoever asked that question.
Final question for this evening, maybe for women who are a little bit more assertive or like to take charge. How do we set boundaries in our work and in our life?
So that really depends on the type of work that you're doing. So if you're in consulting, you could be working till 9, 10. And to put expectations or boundaries, you need to be able to know that work is always going to be there. It's going to be the same type of work you see in the morning, the next day. It's not going anywhere. So putting that into perspective, have a goal, what you want to achieve that day, and stick to that goal. Don't try to overdo it, because then you're going to overwork yourself, and you don't want to do that, right? You want to make sure you have a balance between both work and personal life. So for me, every morning, what I do is I check, okay, I write down a list. Here's what I want to do, 5 things or whatever, how many number of things I will need to do. And I stick to it. Once I finish those 5 things, I log out, I check my email one last time for any last emails, and then I close my laptop and I do the same thing the next day. So that gives some boundaries in terms of, okay, I need to separate personal and work.
I would definitely agree with that. Also, your calendar, you can use it to help you set your boundaries. If you put everything in there, your personal life and your business life, and you say, okay, here's, like Tina said, here's where I'm stopping today, and learn how to say no. If you have your like big goals, and there are things that happen that people ask you to do and you really like them and you don't want to say no, but it doesn't fit any of your goals, that's a no. Okay. So be clear about your goals so it makes it easier to say no. That thing just doesn't fit with what I'm trying to accomplish. And so I can't do that. Right. So I think some of those things will help you set boundaries.
Amazing advice. What an honor it has been to be here with all of you ladies this evening. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being here. For those of you who have hopped on and joined, we hope that you can continue to stay connected to us. If you're a prospective student, get connected to Tamara, to myself. If you're a current student, go make an appointment with Jeanette and make sure you're attending and participating in the events that are offered to you as students. Thank you everybody for being with us. Happy Women's History Month.